Support comes from Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to sustainable and sound conservation of the state's forests, which support more than 41,000 Missouri jobs, resulting in a $10 billion industry. ChooseWood.com.
We hope you enjoy listening to this podcast of St. Louis on the Air, brought to you by University College at Washington University, with undergraduate and graduate programs part-time, evening, and online. University College at Washington University, offering world-class education within reach.
Welcome to St. Louis on the Air. I'm Don Marsh. Today we go behind the headlines. St. Louis County Executive Steve Stenger's running for re-election, but he may or may not have an easier time winning over the voters than he has working with his county council. St. Louis Public Radio political reporter Jo Mannies will take us behind the headlines on that. She's with me in studio. Thank you, Jo, for being with us.
Thanks for asking me.
Why all the friction in St. Louis County government?
Well, some of it's key friction over issues, and some of it's political. That stems back, frankly, to 2014 when Stenger first won the office. If you recall, that he challenged incumbent County Executive Charlie Dooley, defeated him in the primary, and there's been friction. Some of it racial, some of it on issues, some of it just power struggles that have been going on since then. And you could blame everybody. Probably shares some blame. You got council members who say Stenger just doesn't cooperate or even communicate. He doesn't show up at a lot of the council meetings. Not that he has to, but he doesn't show up at some of the. He says he's out doing other stuff on those days, and he just doesn't want to sit around and be involved in fights that he's trying to do stuff. Actually, I saw him this morning. I had an interview with him for my pre-election story, and he believes that much of the friction that's going on right now is political. He is a little disturbed about the last override, which took place just last Tuesday.
He does have a majority on the council. That's
yes,
part of the
he
issues
does.
that people are looking at.
But of his vetoes, almost all have been overridden since April. And he's vetoed about 14 bills, according to the council's count, and they've overridden virtually all of them. And he's particularly concerned about this last one because bottom line is this. Outgoing Councilwoman Colleen Wassinger, who's a Republican, had crafted over several months a bill to change the county's procurement practices. Part of that was aimed at expanding access to businesses who want to bid on county contracts. And the county long has had a requirement that they have to have an apprenticeship program, if we're talking about the building trades here. And for the most part, those apprenticeship programs are run by labor. And her bill, which passed the council and then overrode his veto on Tuesday, eliminates the apprenticeship requirement. Now, she says there's other requirements that remain in place and that this was to expand the access for various businesses. She predicts there will be more women-owned firms, minority businesses, smaller firms, and she says many firms have apprenticeship programs as well. Stenger, when I talked to him this morning, I mean, he's disturbed about it because he said, look at what happened in the city at a recent construction project where the firm in question did not have proper training for the workers, and a couple workers died. They fell down an elevator shaft. And he says, this is the kind of thing that has not been happening in the county because we've had these really good apprenticeship programs because of our cooperation with labor. Now, as I said, you've got others who say, well, labor has not been open enough to minorities and women. Labor says it's been working on it. But since he has a slight majority party-wise, it's 4-3 on the council Democratic, he was surprised. He told me today he was surprised by the fact that two Democrats, you needed 5 votes to override, did cross and vote with the 3 Republicans. One of them was Council Chairman Sam Page, and I don't know what Page's plans are as far as 2020, but some labor leaders are already furious with him, and he may face some sort of challenge on that.
When you say the problems are political, what specifically do you mean by that?
Well, what some of the players contend that it's less about policy and more about personalities, and that what happens, and some of it says, well, because Stenger can be combative, Stenger doesn't work with us. He's like, well, I've tried to work with you. You're the ones who are combative. I mean, both sides are playing that game.
Well, conventional wisdom has it that he's going to win this election. I won't ask you to agree or disagree, but if he does, in your conversation this morning, was there any discussion about what he might have to do to kind of repair whatever damage is out there?
Well, he contends, and actually he had a little sheet for me. He contends that actually when you look at his first term, he said the amount of stuff that we achieved the second 2 years, which is during all this fighting, he said isn't that much different than the first 2 years. Now, that could change depending on some of these ballot proposals that are on the ballot. One of them would really increase the council's power over budget stuff. And they wouldn't need him on some things to either move money around or reduce money. He acknowledged that he has put some campaign money into the opposition campaign committee that's been set up to challenge. This is the other Proposition B on the ballot. There's actually two. Mm-hmm. One of them is the minimum wage. That's statewide. The other one is this one that's in St. Louis County. And he acknowledges that he's helping to fund the opposition to try to defeat it because he believes that it improperly skews the checks and balances in the county from what the charter often has been. The county executive has a lot of power, and Prop B would definitely curb some of that.
He really has not been very, very active during this political campaign.
Well, he acknowledges that it's not been as active as it was during the primary when he faced Mark Mantovani, who Stenger reiterated he believes was really a closet Republican. But, I mean, his Republican opponent now, Paul Berry, who's a former bail bondsman, Berry does have some Republican support, but he doesn't have nearly as much money as Stenger. But neither of them have been that high profile. Stenger indicated that he might be doing some more like ads or things like that during the final week. But he, hasn't made a decision yet.
We will hear more about your conversation with the county executive Monday on our website, correct?
Yes.
All right, Joe, thanks so much for being with us and filling us in some indication of what's going on in St. Louis County.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Always appreciate it. Jo Mannies, St. Louis Public Radio political reporter. This is St. Louis on the Air on St. Louis Public Radio, 90.7 KWMU.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association. Missouri produces wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details on the variety of products made in the state are at choosewood.com.